your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Well, come on along, and thanks a lot for joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat. Thanks a lot for taking us along wherever you're going, whatever you may be doing. We appreciate you taking Indiana Sports Beat along for the ride. Hello and welcome in. Jim Coyle with you as always. Justin Kalen high atop the Crew Chiefs box.
That's right.
Hope you had a great weekend and ready to get the week started here on this Monday, as we're going to do that for you. But let's get to the headlines before we get to anything else with Justin.
All right, here are your Daily Hoosier headlines for this 18th day of March 2019. As yesterday was Selection Sunday, as Duke, North Carolina, Virginia, and Gonzaga all get number 1 seeds. Indiana, as expected, misses the tournament and gets the number 1 seed and will take on St. Francis tomorrow at 7 p.m. in the NIT. So more games at Assembly Hall. Rory McIlroy wins the Players' Championship at TPC Sawgrass this weekend. And if you missed it on Friday, Keon Brooks Jr. commits to Kentucky over Indiana. Those are a look at your Daily Hoosier headlines for this 18th day of March 2019. For more information, make sure to check out thedailyhoosier.com.
And welcome back in. Thanks a lot for joining us. Hope we can get your week off started to a good start. Make sure you like or follow us on Facebook if you can't catch us live here on the Big X Sports Radio, 1450 96.1. You can also catch us on the Ref 97.7 ESPN Evansville. Or you can like and follow us on Facebook, find the show rebroadcast, any place you find a podcast, Apple Play, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Play. You can also go to thedailyhoosier.com, indianasportsbeat.com, or thegruelingtruth.net. You can follow me at Twitter at Jim Coyle, ISB. Hit us up on the text line, 812-269-6367. Get us started. Questions, comments, whatever you want to talk about. There's a lot.
Yeah.
You heard Justin mention Keon Brooks commits to Kentucky last Friday. Not a surprise at all. That was expected there at the end, unfortunately. We'll talk about that a little bit. Talk about mainly what that means for Indiana. Indiana's headed to the NIT. They did not make the NCAA for the 3rd straight year. What does that mean for this program? Let us know what you're thinking. They will be playing in the NIT, as Justin mentioned. A number 1 seed, which means they're a favorite, obviously, to win the NIT. That's how close they were to getting in. The ironic thing is, if they win their first game, they're either going to play Providence or Arkansas. They'll get a possible chance at redemption to winning a game that, had they won, who knows?
Yeah.
That one may have put them over.
I think at the end of the day, there's a list of games that Indiana played that if they just won that one game, I think they're in the tournament. And I agree with you. I think Arkansas is one of them.
And actually, I think that they needed 2 more wins, to be honest with you, of those other games that we're talking about, because it came down to the end. They had the opportunity. All they had to do was beat Ohio State, and they were in.
Yeah.
So they didn't deserve to get in. I mean, in that regard. They could have played their way in, and they played their way out, is what they did. I mean, if you want my honest opinion, they're playing exactly where they deserve to play right now. Yeah. They gave an NIT performance for 3/4 of the Ohio State game. Well, that's where you're going to play.
Well, here's something that really annoyed me this weekend. We were talking about it, not sure what day it was last week, but the tournament's not supposed to take into account the conference tournaments. But if you listen to all the national media guys, it does. It absolutely does. They take what you do in the conference tournament. And we were saying that before the Ohio State game the other night.
Well,
the
winners in Indiana's but in Indiana's regard, that's because they needed something extra to get in.
Yeah.
So that's why they were taking the conference tournament into account. They needed that win.
But I mean,
not a loss.
It was for everyone, though. Not just Indiana. I mean, they're taking the conference tournaments into effect for everyone because they said it multiple times.
What do you mean to take? Of course they are. It's how you're playing.
Well, the conference tournament's not supposed to count towards the seeding in terms of
Okay,
the
but
NCAA
when you say
tournament.
the conference tournament, what do you mean the conference tournament?
Like the Big Ten tournament, ACC tournament.
I know what they are, but what I'm trying to ask you is, what do you mean they're not supposed to take it into account? Act like it didn't happen?
Well, when
Act
they
like you didn't play the games? Act like you didn't play like crap?
when they
play
seed
like crap?
when they
act
seed
like
for
you
the
didn't play well,
NCAA
you played well?
tournament, they're not supposed to take the conference tournaments into account. That's what I've always heard.
Okay, and I ask you, what do you mean they're not supposed to take them into account? How they're playing? If they're playing like crap, they're playing great. They're not just ignore that.
What I've always heard is they go by the regular season and the regular season
I
only.
keep hearing you say repeating yourself, and I keep asking you the same question. You're not answer the question, dude.
I guess I just don't understand your question. I thought I was making myself
take them into
clear.
account. What do you mean? If they're playing well, just ignore that. If they're playing like crap, ignore that.
Basically, yeah.
What do you mean? No, that's not, where have you ever heard that from? Who in the world told you that?
I've always heard that.
Okay, I don't know where you're getting your information from, but
So
that
it's
is
wrong.
the most false.
Okay. That's all I
fictitious
needed to
thing
know.
I've
I mean, that's
heard.
why I'm asking you. That's what I've always heard. I've heard other people say that as well. But, I mean, if it's false, it's false.
You've never heard anybody that's legit say that.
I mean,
If you're playing terrible, I don't care when it is.
Yeah.
They're going to look at it. And especially if you're playing terrible at the end of the year, they still look at your body of work.
right.
They looked at Indiana's body of work. They had an okay body of work only because of the big wins, but they had a crap ton of losses.
Yeah.
So they'll look at, well, what are you doing right now? Well, they beat Ohio State, then they obviously show they deserve to be in. They didn't.
Yeah.
They got their ass handed to them for most of the game. So if you or anybody else thinks that they're going to ignore that, that's crazy.
Yeah.
No, they're not going to ignore that. Who ignores that?
Right. Well, I mean, it's obvious they don't.
I mean, if you've had a good year and you don't do well in the tournament, that's not going to hurt you.
Right.
But if you're struggling and you're on the bubble like Indiana was, well, hell yes, it's going to hurt you. They're not going to just ignore that. You're already on the bubble.
Right.
They need something to get you off the bubble. So how you're playing right now, whether that's in a conference tournament or whatever it is, that's what they're going to use. That's nuts. Of course they don't ignore.
How do you
that.
think the 20-game Big Ten slate played into things? I mean, Indiana, they're
You
playing.
know, I keep seeing that too.
Yeah.
All that crap is just a bunch of excuses people are looking for.
Right.
It's simple. Indiana didn't win the games. They should have won. I don't care if they're in the Big Ten Conference or not.
Right.
It doesn't matter. If you lose, you lose. And if you lose to Minnesota by 21, if you lose at home to Nebraska, I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's in the Big Ten or not.
Yeah.
It's a loss. People need to just get over this 20-game thing. That's
Right.
another. It's driving me nuts. I don't care if it's 80 games.
I think the point that I've seen people try to make is the fact that Big Ten went to this 20-game schedule because they thought it would help them in terms of getting more teams into the NCAA tournament.
Well, guess what? Did it? Who got the most teams in the NCAA tournament?
Was it the Big Ten?
It was the Big Ten. Who was looked at as the toughest conference top to bottom?
Big Ten.
The Big Ten. So this 20 game, that's just people are looking for excuses on why Indiana didn't get in.
Sure.
There's one reason they didn't get in. They didn't win the damn games they should have won. They laid an egg against Ohio State last Thursday in Chicago when they had the opportunity. They decided, oh my God, hey, there's 7 minutes left, so we're getting our ass kicked. Maybe we should play. That is what people see.
Yeah.
And that is why they don't deserve to be in the NCAA tournament. When your tournament life's on your line and that's the effort you give, come on, man. Really? And then you don't have an answer for it afterwards?
Right.
I don't know what people expect. I really don't. It's simple, man. Don't go on the road and lose to a beaten down, crappy Minnesota team by 21. Don't lose at home to a Nebraska team that doesn't make the NCAA tournament.
Doesn't even get close.
They lost at home to a team that didn't make the tournament. You want an excuse? There's your excuse.
Yeah.
People are looking for excuses, man.
It's easier
The
that
fans,
way.
they can't get over the fact of that's the difference. But it's aggravating. They shouldn't have missed the tournament.
Yeah.
That's what's aggravating. The responsible party lies on that basketball court.
And for this team to miss the tournament, it's still so bewildering to me. Of all the teams, this team.
Yes, there's. Why did they play like that? The biggest question is why. What led to that level of play that led to losing 12 of 13 games? That is, now I know there were injuries. We've talked about that ad nauseum, but there was more to it than that. They should not have lost at Nebraska like that. I mean, at Minnesota like that. They should not have lost at home to Nebraska like that. Just shouldn't have. No. And if they don't do that, we're not having this conversation about the NIT.
Right.
So they lost at home to Ohio State. Can't do that.
Well, now the expectation has to become an NIT championship, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's all you got left.
Yeah.
That and recruiting issues. You got Keon Brooks, who spurns Indiana for Kentucky. Yeah. What does that mean? Is that just another lost recruit, or does that say something? Well, obviously it says something. Someone asked me over the weekend, why? Well, there's not a reason. There's a number of reasons. Yeah. Did social media play a part in it? I think they did, actually. Only because I think the mom got involved, and the mom was active on social media. Had she not been involved and active on social media, it probably would have been fine. Family members I don't think family members of prospects need to be jumping on social media either. You want to be personal about it, or me and my opinion about it, because that's inviting nut jobs. And let me tell you, they're nut jobs that are out there. Yeah. They're just nuts. I don't care whose team they support. They're just nutty people. What are you going to do about it? They're crazy people out there. Seriously, they're just kind of off the wall a little bit. And I don't care who they follow. Every program in the world has nut jobs. Some just has more of them.
So if you feel that way about
can't control a nut job.
If you feel that way about the parents, do you feel that way about the kids as well?
Absolutely not. You can't restrict that. I'm just saying, when family gets involved in discussions of recruiting, all that, now you're just inviting in discussions. And again, you've got to understand, a rational, sane person is not going to get involved in that, are they? A rational, sane person is not going to be saying, if you don't pick the school they like, oh, you suck. I hope you get hurt and blah, blah, blah. Is a rational, sane person going to say that? No.
Nope.
So look what you're dealing with. You're dealing with nut jobs. And nut jobs are out there. But you can't lump in an entire fan base because of whack jobs. They're just out there. And social media has given them a license to drive in the communications field. It's a shame because too many people look to social media for their news. They think half these fan pages are media outlets, and they're not. Yeah. And that's the difference. They're getting their news source from non-media outlets, but they don't really realize that they're not really media. These fan pages, they're not media outlets. And they're different. There's a big difference because legit media follows protocols. They do things the right way. They don't talk about stuff that's not corroborated. You don't spread rumors. You don't contact prospects. This tagging prospects on Twitter.
It's ridiculous.
Ridiculous. And I don't care if you're doing it in a supportive manner. Don't do it. You don't need to be you don't need to be hitting them up. And I see fan pages doing it. Even though they're being supportive. You don't need to be talking to them. It's not your job to be talking to these people.
Right.
And that's why there's a difference, but people don't see that there's a line between fan page social media and legit media, and people there's a people don't see the line anymore, unfortunately. But I definitely think that people should not be engaging in conversation with these people.
I agree with that. I mean, picture yourself back in high school. I mean, you're not going to want to be contacted by all these weird people via social media.
You're not ready to handle it. But
right.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about I talk about the loss to Rutgers, to Northwestern. The Bear mentions on the text line. We were talking about losses, but we'll continue to talk about and much more. Missing the NCAA tournament, making the NIT. Don Fisher's on the show today. Drew Davis is on the show today. IHSA news. Tournament action over the weekend. We got lots to talk about. Stay tuned. We're back with more here on Indiana Sports Beat right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on Big X Sports Radio, 1450, 96.1 WXVW in Southern Indiana, and 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, you want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
This hour of Indiana Sports Beat is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. With hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Thanks a lot for joining us here on this Monday. Hope we can get your week off to a good start. Jim Coyle with you as always. Justin Kalen high on top, the Crew Chiefs box.
That's right.
Speaking of Crew Chiefs box, there was a NASCAR race yesterday, wasn't there?
There was. Let's see who I never did see.
Kyle
who
Busch
won.
won.
There you go.
Kyle Busch won. I think that they were they in Phoenix maybe?
Atlanta.
No.
I think so. Phoenix was last weekend. Oh, they were Fontana.
California.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't go West Coast back to East Coast. They
Yeah.
stay on the West Coast.
You're right.
But a little action to fill the void when basketball goes away, which will happen soon.
Yep.
Unfortunately. Now, also over the weekend, I know that the baseball team was in action. They played yesterday. They had a 3-game set with Canisius. Yesterday's final, 12-1. I don't know what.
They outscored them 33-8 this weekend. Canisius.
Yeah, they won the first game about that same score.
Oh shoot! I didn't even realize they played a 4-game set, so they outscored them 51-14 in 4 games.
That's a lot of runs to put on the board, man.
Yeah.
That's averaging like 13 runs a game almost.
They put up 18, 16, and 12 in 3 separate games this weekend.
Well, I thought you just said it was a 4-game set.
Then 5 in the 4th game. Pretty crazy.
Man, that's a lot of runs. That's good, but of course it's Canisius, but that's a lot of runs to score.
Yeah.
That's a lot of runs. Ironically, guess who Indiana played in softball?
St. Francis.
The team Indiana plays in the NIT tomorrow night.
That's right.
Ironically. How ironic is that?
They should have just rode together.
Softball team handles them 13-6 and 6-4 yesterday in a doubleheader at Andy Moore Field. I don't know when the baseball team's back at it again. Have to pull their schedule up. Hit us up on the text line, 812-269-6367, just like the Bear did. Earlier I was talking about, the Indiana had multiple opportunities. Well, they also, I forgot they went to Rutgers and lost.
Yep.
Northwestern. Lost to Northwestern. I mean, there are so many games that they shouldn't have lost. That's so people need to stop looking for excuses. Stop making excuses. Stop looking for excuses. Yeah. There is none. Even with the injuries.
The only valid
team should have made the tournament.
The only valid excuse at this point is you didn't win. You lost.
Exactly. No, you didn't play hard enough to win.
Sure.
You didn't play hard enough to win the Ohio State game the other day until the last 7 minutes of the ball game.
Right.
And many of those games that they lost, that was the complaint. There was no effort. So, yeah, there's no, I don't want to, there will be no excuses allowed here. No excuse zone.
Yeah, I mean, you think back to all those games that we came in here the next morning and complained about slow starts. Just fix 2 of those games. Have good starts in 2 of those games that you have slow starts in, and see what happens.
The Bear wants to know if there's any news on Watford. You know what? I don't expect that stuff to change. I mean, you're not going to jump to the top now all of a sudden with Watford. He's either going to Memphis or Alabama. Unless something changes.
He's been getting a lot of love from Duke lately, so I wouldn't be surprised if he goes there.
But all you'd heard from Indiana is Keon Brooks. Well, what do you think that makes those guys do? Yeah. So I don't see Indiana having any chance at Watford unless something is going on that I'm not aware of.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
Don't expect that. I mean, and then like you just mentioned, if Duke is getting involved, and you see what happens when a program, and if people keep saying, why would Keon go to Kentucky? Well, you mean why? They're a top-tier program that is playing well now. That's relevant now, not maybe in the future.
But Kentucky has already signed a player at Keon's position.
That's a good point, though.
But Keon's the better player of the two. I mean, Khalil Whitney is down near 100 in terms of recruit. Keon Brooks is in the top 20.
Yeah.
So he ain't going to be scared of that competition.
But, I mean, let the kid go wherever he wants. I have no ill will towards anybody because they want to go play someplace else. Let him go. Who cares?
Right.
Why does that bother people so much where this dude wants to do what they want to do? Because it doesn't work out for you. Because it's not in your best interest. That's what people need to understand. That's why they're so upset and butthurt, is it's because it's not what they want.
Yeah.
Well, it ain't about them. You want players that are committed to the program. Now, that's a tough ask right now. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That's a tough ask of any kid to be committed to this program because you're committing to just being a part of something that you may not get to be around to see the results of. You know, everybody talks about, people were getting on Archie, like, you got to relax. Look what happened in the first few years of Mike Krzyzewski and John Beeline, and that stuff's true. The thing is, go back. There are players on those early teams that those guys played on that weren't good, that had to commit to those teams. That's what you're asking kids to do. You're asking kids to commit to a program that's in flux, it's in change, that's not going to change overnight. It's going to be a couple-year process. Well, these kids that aren't expected to be here for a couple of years, you're asking them to commit to that. And I think people need to understand that. You're asking them to commit to that as opposed to going to play for a Duke or a Kentucky or a Kansas.
An established program.
That doesn't need the couple years to come around. They're already around.
But I think that's what makes guys like Armaan Franklin and Trace Jackson Davis special, the fact that they want to come in and they want to try to be a part of the turnaround and get Indiana back to where it has always been.
Well, there's a lot of people that will want to come in, but, I mean, I'm talking about the top-tier talent.
Yeah. Well, I think you'd consider Trace Jackson Davis top-tier talent.
Yeah. Absolutely. But the borders are not locked. Not yet.
Absolutely not.
And that's the thing. Indiana has to get to the point to where they don't lose those players. Everybody keeps saying, we don't. Now that they've lost him, how many times I've seen people post, well, who wants a one and done anyway? You do. You do. If you think you don't need Keon Brooks, you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
Don't act like that. That's ridiculous.
Well, and everybody knew that Romeo was likely going to be a one and done, and they all wanted him or clamoring for him.
Absolutely. Why do you need him? Because they're the best talent. That's why.
Give you the best chance to win.
Now, when they change that rule, we'll see how that changes college basketball landscape. But until that happens, it is what it is.
Tim texts in, says, I hope Keon Brooks will be happy coming off the bench and maybe getting 15 minutes per game, where at IU he would start and get 30 minutes of playing time.
And he would lose to Nebraska and lose to Rutgers and lose and lose. If people can give reasons all the day that they want, I can give them reasons the opposite way.
Right.
And he wouldn't be playing in the NCAA tournament.
Right. And that's a big thing. I mean, you're looking at Indiana, who's missed the tournament 3 straight years. Couldn't tell you the last time Kentucky missed the tournament. I mean, you're guaranteeing yourself that you're going to play in the NCAA tournament by going to Kentucky. Whether you like it or you don't, Keon made the best decision for himself.
Yes, and people need to get over it. This is that whole social media thing. Part of it involving him, where people were lambasting him. It got so bad. He sent a message out the other day in response to someone who said something horrific. And it's ridiculous that has to take place. But again, you're dealing with nut jobs. Yeah. These people are not rational, man. They're just not rational people. Do you think that this is a normal person? Of course not. Don't engage them. Don't engage them. But Indiana people need to get off of trying to come up with reasons why that decision was bad for Keon. It's not bad for Keon. It's bad for anybody that's an IU fan that didn't get him. Yeah. And that's all there is to it. Stop being childish. Get over it. Let him go. Deal with the issues. Stop making excuses why Indiana didn't make the tournament. They didn't make the tournament because they didn't win. They didn't win because they didn't put the effort out. Stop right there. You don't need to go any further. Yeah. Injuries hurt them terribly. It gave them no margin for error. It gave them no margin for playing games with no effort, is what it gave them. But they still could have and should have made the NCAA tournament as is. They had the talent and the tools to make the tournament. The injuries did not keep them out. Lack of effort kept them out. And that effort you saw last Thursday against Ohio State for 3/4 of the game, that kept them out. Don Fisher's on the show today. We'll talk about Indiana and their upcoming exploits in the NIT tomorrow night. They take on St. Francis at Assembly Hall. Of course, you can listen to that game right here. Game time is 7. Pre-game starts at 6. That's Eastern time. Don Fisher, of course, on the call. Tonight, Archie Radio happens once again. You can catch that here, of course, also at 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock Central.
Don't know that there is Archie Radio tonight.
Oh, you know what?
I want to think he said last week that was their last one.
You know what? I think you might be right.
That's
Man, their
rare.
schedule's weird. I don't know how they do it. They're off for like all those couple weeks. It's weird.
Yeah.
So maybe you're right. So don't ignore that. Ignore Archie Radio.
We'll find out, though, from Don.
I think we have no Archie Radio. But we'll create our own because they're on the air tomorrow. Yeah. Now, Archie will meet with the media today. I will be there. We'll have that for you tomorrow, of course, on the show. But we'll also have that. I'll have it on social media. I'll post that today. But Archie's meeting with the media and a couple players around 2 o'clock this afternoon.
There you go.
But hit us up on the text line, 812-269-6367. Drew Davis joins us on the program today. We're going to talk some IHSA over the weekend action. I was at Washington. There was action in Seymour. Silver Creek is headed to the state championship game. Congratulations to the Silver Creek Dragon.
Yeah.
Ben Davis. They knocked off Trace Jackson Davis in Center Grove. DeJuan Jones, he's going to the state championship game, man. Could DeJuan put a big old fat basketball state title ring on his finger before he heads off to play football for Ohio State?
And get another fat ring, probably.
And you want to know why Ohio State is so good? DeJuan Jones. That's the kind of athletes they get. This dude is a badass mountain of a man athlete. Hey, we've got a lot coming up. We got a break, but stay tuned. Indiana Sports Beat's back with more. Don Fisher, Drew Davis will join us next. Stay tuned. We're back after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, Located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway, Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs, Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on Big X Sports Radio, 1450, 96.1 WXVW in Southern Indiana, and 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Hey, welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Thanks a lot for joining us here on this Monday, coming to you from the Graduate Hotel in Bloomington. Hope your weekend was good and your week's off to a good start. We can get you headed in that right direction. Jim Coyle with you as always. Justin Kalen high atop the Crew Chiefs box.
That's right.
On the program today, Don Fisher joins us, the voice of the Indiana Hoosiers. We'll talk about Indiana's upcoming game in the National Invitational Tournament as they have missed the NCAA for the 3rd consecutive season. 7th in 11 years.
Pitiful.
7 in 11. It's atrocious. It's terrible. It's terrible, and it is what it is. Hit us up on the text line, 812-269-6367. Let us know what your thoughts, comments, questions. Comments or questions for Don Fisher or Drew Davis. Come on along. Talk a little IHSAA. I was in Washington over the weekend. My first time there at that gym. Pretty cool environment, man. The Hatchet House. It was packed. Bar Reeve played Bloomfield earlier, and they jumped on them early. Bar Reeve tried to make a game out of it, but the place was packed because there was, the other fans were coming in for the other game as well. And then when the game was over, they had to clear some of those people out. But that place was loaded, man, twice.
They cleared them out between games?
Not everybody, but there was a section that said if you're sitting in Section L, that's for the Ben Davis student section. You have to move.
Oh, okay. So they didn't kick them out. They just made them move.
People out there.
Gotcha.
Right. But I think that there was probably 10,000 people there total all day long because, the 7,000 people there early on, I know. Well, some of those people left, I'm certain, after the Bloomfield people. They weren't going to hang around or they lost the game.
Right.
And I doubt all of the Bar Reeve people hung around. So there was no telling how many thousands of people ended up being there that day. It holds 7. Great environment.
If last weekend told me anything, the Bar Reeve people left and drank between games.
They did what?
They left and drank between games. That's what they did last week, so I'm assuming that's what they did this week.
Aren't there a bunch of Amish in Bar Reeve?
Where they're from? Yeah, there is. That's a pretty heavily populated Amish area.
And a lot of the kids actually go to school, don't they?
That I'm not sure of.
Which is different.
That's different.
Yeah, it's. But at least Mennonites, I think that they're. Of course, I know that they're not listening right now. I saw some of them at the game in their traditional dress. So
nice. Bringing them in the Indiana basketball traditions. Come on.
They brought the game ball in a buggy. Hit us up on the text line, 812-269-6367. What is Indiana going to do as far as recruiting? They've got to replace Keon Brooks.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Tim asked on the text line. Asked, where do we go from here? Is there a 2019 wing that can go to the basket and pop a 3 from outside?
The Bear texted in asking about any news on Watford. Talked about that earlier. I don't see him. He's not in the picture. Indiana kind of it was made known that he was probably either going to go to Memphis or Alabama, and Indiana's kind of been on the back burner. So
it kind of seems like the Keon Brooks and Michigan State situation, whereas they had a strong relationship at one point, but it's just over the month has tapered off.
Yeah, there you go. Tapered off. That's a good way to put it.
But he's
I'm
still
not
there.
going to tell you what that reminds me of, but because that's what this whole situation is. But it is what it is, but it leaves a hole in the recruiting because that's a spot and a type of player that Indiana thought they had landed. Yeah. They do not. Where are they going to go to fill that void? Howard Beverly, obviously, is a guard that has shown interest in Indiana, but that's a guard. Yeah. They can use his services without a doubt. But they still need a shooter. They need someone that can shoot. They need a big guy in the middle. You're losing Jawan Morgan. Who are you going to rely on? Justin Smith? Please. Get real. You actually need 2 people. You need somebody to replace Jawan Morgan and Justin Smith.
Yeah.
Now, you have the guy to replace Justin Smith if he can play. Jerome Hunter. Man, what a missing piece that was this year for this team. I'm telling you. This dude is a player.
Way different season
baller.
if he plays.
What's that?
Way different season if he plays.
Oh, well, they don't lose these. They don't lose these dumb games that they lost. I'm not saying they go undefeated or something, but the dumb games that they lost, losing at home to Nebraska, on the road to Minnesota, to Northwestern, Rutgers, that stuff doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. It's just terrible that it did, but
Josh texts in and says, I have 4 years of eligibility.
they may need it.
Can you knock down a 3, though, Josh? That's the main thing.
They may need it because there's a hole, and there, we asked Trace Jackson about that afterwards. The audio was not the greatest, so I didn't try to play it. But he talked about, Howard Beverly, and he didn't, because he was asked about losing Keon, but he doesn't have the information either. So
right.
Although he and Armand Franklin were in attendance to show their support, very kind of them. Too bad the rest of Hoosier Nation can't be the same.
Right.
Most of them are. Again, you're talking about a couple of whack jobs, man. People that are just should not be allowed to talk to other people, period.
Indiana fans need to listen to Tom Allen for a couple of hours. Just love each other. That's it.
It's
That's
not
it.
Indiana fans. It's just
fans in general.
It's just a few whack jobs, man. I'm sorry. You got idiots are idiots. You can't fix stupid. I'm sorry, but you just have people in the world that are just. This is just how they are.
Josh says 40% at Edwardsville Park.
There you go. There's his start.
That'll do. Oh, it's good stuff. And what about Tim asked? What about a grad transfer like Kentucky got this year? Indiana got one.
It's going to have to be. They're going to have to go that route.
Indiana got one too this year, Tim.
They got what?
They got a grad transfer too, although he didn't show up.
Well, yeah, they didn't do a good job on. Their pick did not pan out too well.
No.
But yeah, they're going to have to go the route of the grad transfer or JUCO. One of the two. They need somebody to come in and make an impact. That's what this team has to have. They have to have an impact player.
Yeah. Because
who's going to be your impact player next year?
Great question.
You have to have, and not one. You need more than one. And that's the difference between being an okay team and a good team, is having multiple impact players.
I mean, I think the potential is there to have multiple impact players. I mean, you take a guy like Deron Davis, what he did at the end of the year, I think he could be big next year. If Devontae Green can keep his turnovers down like we saw towards the end of the season, he could be an impact player. Same thing with Tennessee. I mean, the potential's there, but the execution we'll have to pay attention to.
Deron Davis, no offense to Devontae Green. If that's the kind of impact players you have, you're not going to compete with Duke and Kansas and Gonzaga and Kentucky and all these teams. You have to have elite talent. Until Indiana has elite talent, they will not be an elite program. It's just that simple. It's that simple. And it is a mixture of players that are there for 3 years, some for 4 years, but some that are there for 2 and some that are there for 1. But you need all of them. Yeah. Why do you need one and dones? Because they're incredible talents. That's why. And because if you don't, they'll play somewhere else against you. Yeah. That is why you need them. Because they're good. That's why they're one and done. Feel free to jump in.
Yeah, I'm sitting here trying to, because I have a different opinion about the one and dones. I'm not a fan of one and dones. whatsoever. But then you come out and you say that, it just gets me thinking because, I mean, yeah, you do need the one-and-dones. Those are the best players in the country. And think about this Indiana team this season without a guy like Romeo Langford. How quickly does that go down the drain?
Oh, exactly. And Romeo did not have the season that a lot of people think that he should have.
Right.
Well, just think that where would this team have been without the season that he had?
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't like the whole one-and-done thing. I think it's kind of ruining
Nobody likes it.
ruining
Nobody
college
likes
basketball.
Who likes it?
Right. But
Nobody
I mean,
likes it.
until the rule changes where they can go straight out of high school, if that does in fact go down, I mean, you've got to live with it. And I agree, you might as well try to get a couple of those guys because they are the best talent and they will give you a better chance to win.
And if you don't, somebody else is going
Exactly.
to, and they're going to be playing against you and whipping your ass.
Yeah.
So, yes, while it is the rule, you have to play within the confines of what it is because it will come back against you if not, I assure you. You think that if you think Indiana fans would have turned down Zion Williamson because he's a one and done? Oh, we don't need him. He's a one and done. Who needs him?
Come on down, big boy. We'll take you.
Well, I'm just saying that's the point.
Yeah.
When you start talking about who needs one and done's crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, right. Well, let me tell you who does. Whoever doesn't have them, that's who needs them. There are the haves and the have-nots. Who's the leading pick to win the national championship this year?
Probably Duke.
Yeah. Who are they led by?
3 freshmen. 3 one-and-dones. Not just 1, 3.
Exactly. But who needs one and dones, right?
Right. Coach K can have them all.
Who needs one and dones? Of course, yeah. Who needs those? They're just going to they're just odds-on favorite to win the national championship. While Indiana's not going to the NCAA tournament, but who needs one and dones? That's what cracks me up when I see those posts. Who needs one and dones?
Another text into the show. Are you even sure Keon Brooks is a one and done? I haven't seen where he's a lock to be gone after 1 year.
I've never thought to him to be a one and done.
Yeah.
I don't think of him to be a one and done.
2-year guy?
I think so. And I'll tell you, Mike Schumann put out a good piece on numbers about this at Kentucky. The guys that were not projected to be one and dones, there were like 26 players that were not in the top 15 recruited at Kentucky. And of those 26, so many made it to the next year, so many did this, and eight of them transferred. 8.
Kentucky has had their fair share of transfers as of late.
Well, point being is it didn't always work out for everybody there.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, hey, who cares? It's not a concern of mine. I'm not even thinking about it anymore.
Right.
It's gone. He went somewhere else. Boom. I'm covering Indiana.
Right. Yeah,
I'm not covering Kentucky.
Honestly,
Keon Brooks was a recruit. He's no longer a recruit, so I'm no longer covering that. Now I'm covering the impact of what that means, of what it could mean. But that's it.
I agree. I mean, it's easy to forget. I honestly probably won't think about it again until the start of next basketball season when I flip on a Kentucky game and, oh, look, there's Keon Brooks. Let me check in and see how he's doing.
I'll think about it in between then. I mean, but it's just not a focal point anymore. It's gone. It's over. It is what it is, and it's history, baby. It's like Jefferson Davis. It's history.
Speaking of history, Joker texts in and asks, in 2010 and 2011, how many one-and-dones did Brad Stevens have on his Butler squad? That's a good point.
I guess none.
Yeah, none.
Absolutely none. Ryan texted in, this season and this program have me beat down as a fan. I can't even enjoy watching other games, even though the teams might be great. I live in Jeffersonville, and it's a 365-day-a-year battle with UK and U of L fans. Yes, it is. I am in the trenches taking bullets down here. LOL. Worst part is I have nothing to defend my team with. Never daunted, but it's getting tougher all the time. I hear you. Ryan, thanks for the text. It is. It's tough. We're going to talk about it more in the next hour. Keep sending in the text. We appreciate it. 812-269-6367. Don Fisher's on the show. Drew Davis is on the show. We'll talk about this text from Ryan when we come back.
Got a couple more to get to as well.
Good. Great. Keep the texts coming, guys. We got a lot coming up. Stay tuned. Indiana Sports Beat back with more right after this.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on Big X Sports Radio, 1450, 96.1 WXVW in Southern Indiana, and 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small,
This hour is
your
brought to you
digging
by
project
Sweetland
may
Waste
be,
Removal
no
Service.
matter how
A
urban
homegrown company
or
serving
rural.
Southern Indiana since
You must always call
1995.
811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do
Welcome along to
this
Indiana
or
Sports Beat. Thanks a lot for joining
this,
us
make
here
sure
on
you
this
do
Monday.
this.
Hope you had a great weekend.
For
and we
digging
get your
projects
week
big or
kicked off
small,
with a great
make the
start. Jim
call
Coyle
to
with you, as
811.
always.
Brought to you by Common
Justin
Ground
Kalen, high
Alliance.
top crew chief Fox.
That's right.
Lots to get to today, of course. Don Fisher's on the program. The voice of the Indiana Hoosiers will join us. and talk about Indiana's acceptance of the National Invitation Tournament invitation. They did not make the NCAA. We'll talk about the IHSA with Drew Davis. Lots to get to, plenty here on Indiana Sports Beat. Before we do that, let's get to the headlines with Justin.
All right, here are your daily Hoosier headlines for this 18th day of March 2019. As yesterday was Selection Sunday, as Duke, North Carolina, Virginia, and Gonzaga all get the number 1 seeds. Indiana, as expected, misses the NCAA tournament, but does snag the number 1 seed in the NIT as they will take on St. Francis tomorrow at 7 p.m. in Simon Scott Assembly Hall. Rory McIlroy wins the Players' Championship this weekend at TPC Sawgrass. And if you missed it on Friday, Keon Brooks Jr. commits to Kentucky over Indiana. Those are a look at your daily Hoosier headlines for this 18th day of March 2019. For more information, make sure to check out thedailyhoosier.com.
And welcome back. Like I said, plenty to get to today. Don Fisher's on the show. Drew Davis is on the show. Hit us up on the text line, 812-269-6367. Plenty of those so far. Mentioned Ryan had texted in. He talked about the season's got him down. He's not enjoying watching other games. He lives down in Jeffersonville where it's a battle with UK and U of L fans. And it is. It sucks when your team is not performing and others are. I wouldn't worry about Louisville, though. I think they'll get theirs next year.
Yeah.
When the NCAA is going to take care of them. I'd be surprised if they don't get hit with a little hammer. But that has nothing to do with the fact of getting your own team up and running. Part of that is recruiting, and they missed out on one Friday night. Keon Brooks decided to take his talents to the University of Kentucky. A lot of people are weighing in and speculating as to why. Well, I don't think that there's one reason, I assure you. I think there's multiple reasons. People were thinking that social media was the reason. If that's the reason, then you don't want that person. I don't think that that's the reason, personally, in my opinion. Now, I think it's one of a multitude of reasons. I think the mom being so involved on social media, which really shouldn't be. I personally, if it's me, I'm telling my mama, hey, don't please don't go on social media commenting about stuff involving me. I just don't. There's no way it's going to do well. No. Now, Armand Franklin's mother is also very active on social media, but she's kind of a popular figure. She's it's
crazy how well liked she seems already, and her son hasn't even stepped on campus.
What's not to like? But
right. She reminds me a lot of Yogi's mom. Everybody, all the Indiana fans kind of bought into Yogi's mom as well.
But the point that I'm making is you can't complain about social media and like if your family's involved and all, and there people are it's never going to end well, because social media is open to the world, and the world is full of some nut jobs, and you can't keep the nut jobs out. That's the problem. You can't keep the nut jobs out. And there are nut jobs everywhere. Hell, there's nut jobs that aren't even, that act like that they're a supporter of something that they're really not. Yeah. So that's the issue with social media. You can't control it. And people use it, they use it for news. And sometimes it is news on there, but many times it's not. You have to consider the source, and it's just not a good situation for you to use that as a news source or interaction with the world, and not expect there to be things you don't like.
Right. And I thought
it is.
Bill Texan, I think, put it perfectly, and this is pretty much all we need to say to sum it up about Keon is, Keon went to UK as a stepping stone to get to the NBA.
Exactly. He thought that that's the best place for him to go to do that.
Yeah.
I talked about this earlier. Indiana is a program, and they are a blue blood program. Even though they're not doing well right now, they're still a blue blood program. But they're not performing as such at this moment. And You're asking people to come here and be a part of getting them back to that, which is great. But you can't get mad at people who don't want to do that, who want to play someplace now that is relevant now, that is relevant today, that's playing in the NCAA tournament today, for example.
Yeah.
You can't get mad at people who don't want to do that. And the people that do are ridiculous because it's not serving their purpose. It's not serving their needs, their wants, their desires. Well, it ain't about them. Grow up, people. Grow up, is what I say to that. Now, you've got kids like Trace Jackson Davis, Armand Franklin coming in, Indiana kids. They want to be a part of that. That's great. Cherish them and just rally around them. You don't need to be tearing other people down. It just makes you look bad.
Tim texts into the show, what I will miss is filling out 2 brackets, one showing my dream of IU going all the way to the championship and the other one showing them win a couple games before losing, but I don't get that chance once again.
Well, not this year, unfortunately. Joker texted in. I got to make sure I got these days right. Besides U of L basketball recruiting parties, where can I get? Ooh, almost finished that one. Glad I didn't.
Think I know where that was headed.
Yeah. Calling him the Joker.
Way to stop yourself.
Almost got me on that one. Hey, I hope you're having a great day. Don Fisher's on the program today. Drew Davis will join us as well. We're going to talk about some of the IHSA action over the weekend. Ben Davis knocked off Trace Jackson Davis in Center Grove. I know Silver Creek is in the state championship game as well. Yep. So congratulations to the Dragons. A lot of fun happening in Indianapolis this weekend up in Bankers Life Fieldhouse. Looking forward to that.
What did you think about that Bar Reef team?
They're pretty good, especially they're a 1A. Woo.
Yeah.
Woo. 1A? Oh, my gosh. They got some size, man.
Yeah.
They have some size. They're going to be tough for whoever they end up having, whoever they play. I don't know who they play.
They actually play, and I was hoping this was the matchup we would get. They play Fort Wayne Blackhawk.
Oh, my gosh.
So you've got the number 1 team and the number 2 team in the state playing each other. It's pretty awesome.
Well, I haven't seen Fort Wayne Blackhawk, but I sure have heard about them.
Yeah.
And they sounded tough.
Yeah.
Bar Reeve looked just solid. They didn't make mistakes. They're big. But Fort Wayne Blackhawk is bad because they beat Marion.
Yeah.
With Jalen Blackman, right? Is Marion a 1A school? No, Marion's not 1A
3,
school.
yeah.
4A school. Never mind. Somebody beat Marion lost to Culver Academy.
Yeah. Who will play Silver Creek.
Wow. That's going to be a heck of a matchup because Marion was a good squad. Jalen Blackman. That's going to be that may be the game of the day.
Perhaps.
That may be the game of the day. I mean, the 4A game will be tremendous, obviously. You got Ben Davis, and who are they playing?
Carmel
and Ben Davis. A couple of Indianapolis schools bringing it home. So looking forward to that as well. We'll talk to Drew a little bit about that. Yep. Hit us up on the text line with any questions or thoughts you have, 812-269-6367. And speaking of tournament, Indiana may end up in the NCAA tournament yet. The women's team is waiting to see what happens tonight with the women's selection show. I'll be there for that as well. Archie meets with the media today at 2 o'clock. I'll be out there for that. But the women expect to hear their name called for the NCAA tournament. I fully expect that. They've had a good enough season. They beat good enough teams. They played well enough. They had a little rut in the middle, but that was due to injuries. They've shown that they're a good team, solid team. Yeah. Definitely deserve to be in. You'll hear me moaning and complaining tomorrow if that's not the case.
I may not be here if they don't make the tournament today.
That'll be just bad stuff.
Yeah.
Bad stuff.
Josh asked last week, one day late last week, couldn't get to it, so I'll ask you now. ask if you think Terry Morin deserves a contract extension.
Yes, absolutely. If it's time for that, because she's doing what you want a coach to do. The program is trending in the right direction. Recruiting is trending in the right direction. Production is trending in the right direction. They're playing well. They're putting on a good product. They try. They give you the effort. They play well. There's nothing more to ask.
Yeah.
Success is coming. They won the NIT last year. This year, they're probably an NIT or an NCAA team without the best player in school history. So, yeah, I think she's doing a hell of a job.
Yeah, I told him that's what you would say.
No, you were right. You were exactly right. Hey, make sure to like or follow us on Facebook. You can find the show rebroadcast on any place where you can find a podcast. Apple Play, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Play. TheDailyHoosier.com, IndianaSportsBeat.com, or, of course, TheGruelingTruth.net. You can follow me on Twitter at Jim Coyle ISB. For complete coverage of Indiana athletics, we'll be there today at 2 o'clock when Archie meets with the media. Also tonight, the women's basketball team expecting to hear their name called for an NCAA tournament berth. We'll be there for that as well.
I want to say that's, 8:30?
6:30, isn't it? 8:30 would be awful late.
7. It's at 7.
So there's that. Hit us up on the text line with any questions you might have for Don Fisher as well. But Indiana's playing in the NIT. They will take on St. Francis tomorrow night at Assembly Hall, Simon Scott Assembly Hall at 7 o'clock. Tip, that game you can be heard right here on this station. 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central. Pre-game starts an hour before with Don Fisher at 6 Eastern and 5 Central.
Yep.
That's tomorrow night. I'll be there for that as well, of course. Joker text in, Coach Moore needs a long-term contract. She is getting it done. You're right about that, Joker. She is doing a hell of a job as they continue to improve. That's what you want to see in a program. That's exactly what you want to see.
I mean, it's
Terry
hard.
Moore is doing exactly what you want to see in a coach in a program. Yeah. Recruiting, doing well. Program, doing well. Better. Last year, NIT champions. This year, NCAA tournament. That's progress. Yeah. They beat teams this year that they have not beaten before. They beat number 10 Iowa. They beat good teams. They played very well. So they are trending in the direction you want to see a program trend. She is doing what you want to see out of a coach, and the program is going in the direction that you want to see a program go, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, and in women's basketball at the college level, it's hard to compete with the top, the UConns and the Notre Dames. It's hard to get up to that status, but yeah, I agree. I mean, Indiana is continuing to do it the right way. Terry Morin is continuing to pile up wins every year. Each year seems like there's more wins than the last year, and I agree. That's exactly what you want for a program, so give her the money.
Is it time for an extension?
I assume. Not real sure. I'll look into that. But it is time for a break.
Well, let's do it. We've got plenty coming up on the program. The voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fisher, joins us today. Coming up next, we talk to Duke Davis from Pigs.com. Talk some IHSA action. Stay tuned. Indiana Sports Beat back with more right after this.
Drift away, drift away. And give me the beat, boys, and free my soul. I want to get lost in your rock and roll and drift away.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with the Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on Big X Sports Radio, 1450, 96.1 WXVW in Southern Indiana, and 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become one in a million.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry.
You get a shiver in the dark, it's raining in the park, but meantime.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Thanks a lot for joining us here on this Monday. Hope your weekend was great. Drew Davis from Peaks.com joins us now. I know how your weekend was because you spent it the same place I did in Washington, watching some great high school basketball in a great environment.
Yeah, the gym was filled up quite early before the 1A game at that Hatchet House. It was a great environment with Bar Eve and Bloomfield playing, and then it carried over to the Center Grove Ben Davis game, and the gym was just filled to the brim, and you saw some pretty good basketball as well.
Yeah, it was fun, man. The gym was packed. It was a great environment. That's a great gym. The Hatchet House holds over 7,000 people, and they were ready for some high school ball. That early game, Bar Eve, they got away from Bloomfield in a hurry, but Bloomfield tried to make a game of it. But Bar Reeve's a pretty good squad as they made it to the state championship game, and they'll play a pretty good team next week.
Yeah, that rematch with Blackhawk Christian and Caleb First will be quite interesting. First game, the first game those two played each other this year, they played in the Old National Bank Classic at North Davison. It was late December, I want to say. Caleb First just came back from a finger injury, and it was a really good game. Bari played unbelievably well in that game, and it'll be interesting for me to see if they can play that well again. Because I remember leaving that gym that night saying I just didn't really know what more Bari could have done to win the game, and I was kind of thinking if these two play again, what can they do differently to change the result on the scoreboard? Because like I said, they played unbelievably well in that first showdown, and then they were defeated in overtime But I'm looking forward to that game in the 1A state title game, and I think it'll be a very intriguing matchup.
Absolutely, and then of course as we move forward down the 2A matchup, should be also a good one that will have Linton Stockton and Dan Dockage U, Andrean, taking on each other. That's a 12:45 game.
Yeah, you have Linton making their return to the state finals after, I want to say, since they I feel like the last time they were there, they lost to Bowman Academy, probably maybe 5 to 10 years ago. I can't remember exactly when. And then you'll have Andrean, who has with Kyle Ross, a solid player, up there. It'll be interesting to see what happens in that game. See if Linton's able to capture a state title, or see if Andrean will be too much for him. But I think that'll be a pretty good matchup, though. I think it'll be a competitive game.
And then we're really going to get fun as you move on to the second session. The 3A state championship game. Culver Academies are 24-3. Obviously a great team, but taking on Silver Creek from the Southern Indiana and Trey Kaufman, man, that should be a heck of a matchup.
Yeah, I think that could be one of the matchups of the day, along with Barty and Blackhawk Christian. You'll have Silver Creek, making a trip to the state finals after so many years of trying to get there, coming up short in the regional round. Silver Creek finally broke through this year. Have a really good basketball team, experienced group mixed in with some really good sophomores like Cooper Jacoby and Trey Kaufman, and they're gonna face off against Culver Academy, the defending Class 3A state champions. An unbelievable team up there. Mark Galloway does a terrific job. They're led by Trey Galloway, who's being looked at by IU. Really solid player. And then the Boston University signee, Ethan Britton Watts, who's a really nice player. And then they have Deontay Craig and some other guys as well. And I look forward to that game. I think that might be the best game of the day, and I could see it being a very competitive and close game as well.
Yeah, that's what my thoughts were. I mean, that could be the game of the day, man. I mean, it's going to be a great matchup. Two great teams. The two of the teams that you really want to see there. Culver, obviously, a great team, and then Silver Creek, an upstart, young team from the South. Looking forward to that matchup. That just ought to be fun. And then in the 4A, of course, we both were down in Washington and saw Center Grove and Trace Jackson Davis take on and lose to DeJuan Jones and the Ben Davis Giants Saturday. Man, he's a load. But the thing is about Ben Davis, it's not DeJuan Jones. It's that entire team. They've got a lot of athletes on that team, man.
Yeah, they like to play their game. They're patient on the offensive end. They're not going to just force up a shot, which that's a good sign, because a lot of teams will just come down and jack up a shot. If they're in the 4A classification and they're out of Indy, sometimes you'll see that. But Ben Davis, a very disciplined ball club, and you have DeJuan Jones down in the paint. He's a problem, man. I saw your video on Twitter where there was an inbounds play on the baseline, and he recovered off the help side to block a shot. How many guys of that size can do that? I'm not sure about that. So that was just very impressive to see the gracefulness that DeJuan Jones has, and you have a guard in Jalen Wyndham who's committed to Georgia State, going to go play for Ron Hunter there. He's a very nice player, and they have some other quality guards. They can roll out there. You have Carmel, who was one of the best teams of the state all year long in 4A, and they're a gritty group, and they play a style that's less challenging. And that game right there, it may not be the most pretty game, but I think two teams just throw punches at each other all game, and it'll be interesting to see who's able to come out with that victory. But there's playing basketball right now, and as well. So it's a 4A game. I'm not really sure on that one. I'll be honest with you. I could see it going either way.
Yeah, it's looking forward to that. But Carmel is a tough team, man. 25, and they've lost one time this year, and they got their big man in the middle too. So he's a problem. Dwan Jones, you're right. He is a problem. He's a problem most people can't solve, but Malloy's a problem too, and a different problem. He's got some size, a little more verticality than Dwan Jones is probably used to dealing with, because he's got size and girth. You're not going to move him. He's a mountain. I think Carmel, I don't know, man. It's going to be a tough. Ben Davis has so many pieces and so many parts and so many athletes that Dwan Jones is not their main guy. They're able to mix it up, and that's what makes them dangerous as opposed to, say, Center Grove, who really, really relied on Trace Jackson Davis, who, by the way, for a big man, dude can handle the rock.
Yeah, Trace is a guy that's, always had a pretty good face-up game and an ability to take off the bounce, and it's improving for him, and I think that'll be an area of his game that you continue to see improvement in as he goes to the collegiate level. I know it's something that he's really had priority on over the last year. And, for Trace to be facing, double and triple teams, it was necessary for him to go out there and get the ball, because he needed to find other ways to, create him into a shot. And with the lane jams and guys who are keying in on him, he versatility to attack him off the route, and that was something that I thought was notable, and I think it's very encouraging for Indiana fans to see that as they know what he comes in next year and brings a lot to the table, and may not have thought it was Trace's best day, but he got a 34-point effort. I didn't know what more you could have really asked out of him over the course of the game, other than maybe hitting some free throws. Otherwise, I thought he played pretty well.
Absolutely. Got a text in from Kevin. The women's team, they're looking to make the NCAA tournament tonight when the selection show comes on. And bracketology for the women has IU a 10 seed in Oregon playing Drake. Second game would be against second-seeded Oregon. That's from Kevin. Thanks for that text. The women's program, a great season for them after winning the NIT last year. They should be making the NCAA tournament this year.
Yeah, for the women's program, you lose a player like Tyra Buss, a big-time player in the women's program over a 4-year span, and you lose Amanda Taylor as well. They're positioned to make the tournament. I'm not going to guarantee they're going to get it. Things are looking good for them, honestly, and if they are able to get in, I think that's a huge feat for Coach Moran and her staff as well. It speaks for the job they've done, and Allie Patberg as well. She's had a tremendous year, and really done a great job for this team, and if they're able to get in the tournament, I think that's huge for that program.
Absolutely. We'll be out there tonight for that to cheer them on and support them as they do that, and we'll have some sound for tomorrow about that. Indiana, of course, will be playing in the NIT tomorrow night at Simon Scott Assembly Hall at 7 o'clock. They take on St. Francis of Pennsylvania. Not what Indiana was wanting, not what the fans was wanting, but it is what it is. That's where we are. Indiana has got to use this to continue to try to improve this team. I think that they can do that. You think that one of the problems they've had is being up for games, and this has got to be a tough thing to get up for, especially those guys that are leaving. Senior Jawan Morgan is not playing in the NIT is not what he wanted. That I assure you. Romeo Langford did not want to play in the NIT, but this is where we are. Are these guys going to be able to get up for this, you think?
I think they will be able to, based off, some of the attitude and some of the comments after the loss to Ohio State. A lot of those guys seemed like they just wanted to play as long as they could. for the rest of the season, whether that was the NCAAs or the NIT. I know it'll be a little bit more challenging for the NIT to be up for a St. Francis team, and we'll see how they come out of the gates at that one. But they'll be at home for every regular round NIT game until they get to Madison Square Garden for the semifinals and championship. And I think the matchup I'm kind of pulling for is I'm kind of hoping Arkansas.
I was going that was the very thing I was going to ask you about, their potential rematch against Arkansas at Simon Scott Assembly Hall if they can win this first game and if Arkansas can get past Providence.
Yeah, I'm always a big fan of a rematch between teams, especially when the game is very close the first time. I don't know why, but I always enjoy seeing a good rematch and seeing the adjustments made from game to game and matchup to matchup, seeing the stride each team has made from game to game, and seeing how different they are from the first meeting. And I think you'd obviously flip home floor as well if that were to happen. And I think it would be a good a very good matchup. And I'm kind of pulling for that. I'm not going to lie, and I think it would be very enjoyable to watch.
Well, we'll certainly be pulling for it too, because I think that that's a game. That's one of the games that had Indiana won. I think they needed to win 2 more games, but even if they had, I'm still wondering if the committee would have looked at that effort they put out against Ohio State last Thursday and then said, man, these guys didn't come to play with their life on the line, and still may not have gotten the invitation from the NCAA. But had they won just, say, the Arkansas game and one of the other close games, I don't think they would have been in that position to miss the tournament.
No, I agree with you on that. Especially if you think about the Arkansas game, where it was played at Arkansas, in the circumstances that Indiana played it in that game, with some guys that maybe aren't even in the rotation now playing some big minutes in that game. I think that would have been taken into account by the committee, and that would have looked like a very good win for Indiana. Basically, Indiana's probably kind of inches away from winning that game on the tip end, and that would have been, I think, a big win for them just simply because of the fact it was on the road. As is why the circumstances it would have been under. But I think looking at that's basically what happened when the last 4 are in and then the first 4 are out. To me, what the committee basically said was they value the number of wins more so than the quality of wins. Because looking at the first 4 out, I honestly like the first 4 out better than the last 4 in, to be honest, with UNC Greensboro, TCU, Indiana, whoever the other team was on there. I remember looking at their resumes last night, and I kind of thought the teams that were the first 4 out were a little more battle tested, and the teams they play were a little more quality opponents, and to me that just basically kind of rewards the Tom Crean scheduling approach, where coaches will go out there and schedule kind of some lighter opponents in non-conference play and rack up some wins. And I think that may be something you see in scheduling moving forward. Maybe coaches start to schedule easier games because they're starting to realize that, hey, I can't lose a quality game because I'm on the bubble. The more wins, the better. And obviously the committee's different. Their approach from year to year is different. And we'll see what that does to scheduling moving forward. And I think that'll be something to keep an eye on.
Justin's got a text, I believe.
Yeah, Tim texts in and asks, how many years is the NIT going to have rules changes before the NCAA uses them? I know they brought in some last year, but he says like the three-point line being extended, the lane being wider, and the clock being reset to 20 seconds after an offensive rebound instead of the full 30 seconds, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, those are some cool changes they're implementing. I know he's asking, are they ever going to use these changes? I think that they have implemented some of them. I don't know. I have to go back and look, but yeah, they've got some rule changes they're implementing to experiment with. One is move the 3-point line back, and then they're going to the international, trying to use the international lane, widening that lane out a little bit.
Yeah, the NIT is kind of the guinea pig, so to speak, for them to try out all of the things they're thinking about or maybe considering for moving forward. And It'll be interesting to see how long it takes them to maybe move the 3-point line back. I know that's something they've been looking into, the NCAA, and with guys who obviously being better shooters, bigger, stronger, they're considering the idea of moving it back. That'll be interesting to see how long that takes. I'm not sure on that. Obviously the lane. I remember a couple of years ago, I want to say they tried out the current shot clock time that they have now. That was something that was tested out in the NIT, and then they also have, I believe, the shot clock resets to a different number on offensive rebounds as well, and I think it's a lower number, I want to say, but they have some changes they're going to implement, and we'll see how those work out. I'll be interested to see, Texter was asking, how long it takes them to move the 3-point line back at the NCAA level.
I think we lost him.
We're good. We still got him.
Oh, okay.
But it is time for break.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot for appreciate it. Drew Davis, as always, from Peaks.com joining us. We appreciate you, Drew.
Well, no problem, man. I appreciate you having me, and I look forward to talking to you on Friday.
Absolutely, and tomorrow night, Indiana takes on St. Francis in the NIT. We've got lots more coming back. The voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fisher, is with us next. Stay tuned. Indiana Sports Beat's back.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat. When I'm not covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, located on the northeast corner of I-65 at Veterans Parkway. Bubba's 33 has hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer from a select list of local craft brewers. An incredible food selection, all made fresh daily. Whether you're meeting the team for that post-win meal in the family dining area or meeting friends for happy hour to watch the game on one of Bubba's 50 TVs. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
This is Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat.
And I'm Justin Kalen with Indiana Sports Beat.
Justin, what's your favorite show?
It's got to be Indiana Sports Beat, but I'm not ever sure where to find it.
Well, you can always like and follow us on Facebook. Always follow the show rebroadcast on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. TheDailyHoosier.com is a great place to sign up for it each and every day. Or, of course, on Big X Sports Radio, 1450, 96.1 WXVW in Southern Indiana, and 97.7 The Ref in Evansville.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
All across the country, people are coming together to speed up what we can learn about health. The All of Us Research Program is calling on 1 million people to join us as we try to change the future of health. For your family, for future generations, for all of us. Visit joinallofus.org and find out how you can become 1 in a million.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Thanks a lot for joining us here on this Monday. Hope your week is off to a great start, and we can help you with that by welcoming in the great Don Fisher, the voice of the Hoosiers. Don, thank you, sir, for joining us as always.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Obviously not the ending that Hoosier fans and Hoosier players or anybody in the Hoosier Nation was looking for, but the Indiana team will take on St. Francis in the NIT tomorrow night after getting knocked out of the Big Ten tournament by Ohio State last Thursday.
Yep, certainly without question, it's not what Indiana fans were hoping for, and can't blame them. I don't think any of us were thinking that that this team was going to get beat in the first round, or their first game, I guess I should say, in the Big Ten tournament. But that's exactly what happened, and it's just been kind of a bizarre year, almost a microcosm of what happened during the season, in the sense of this team kind of looking great for a while and then kind of going away from that aspect of it here late. And without doubt, losing the ball game against Ohio State, not a shocker in the sense that Ohio State's not a really good team, because they are, especially when they have all their weapons available to them, and they certainly did with Caleb Wesson coming back after that 3-game suspension at the end of the season. But that said, Indiana played in the first half and the early part of the second half, much like they did in that 12 of 13 game losing streak, 12 loss, 13 game losing streak that they had back in January and February. And I have no understanding of what happened there, other than the fact that they just flat out couldn't shoot it for that 30-minute period, couldn't handle a basketball for that 30-minute period. And if it wouldn't have been for Devontae Green shooting the basketball extremely well throughout the contest, they probably wouldn't have been in the ball game at all. So it's just befuddling in the sense of how this team kind of goes about their business. And a couple of players at the end of that game, post-game press conferences, Jim said, we didn't come out with kind of energy, and I wanted to strangle somebody, because I mean, how in the world do you go into the Big Ten tournament knowing full well, and if they didn't know full well, then they're paying no attention whatsoever, that you've got a chance to make the NCAA tournament with that one win? And everybody was talking about the fact that they'll probably replace Ohio State if they win that game in the NCAA tournament. And I'm not saying that they didn't try and they weren't competitive to some degree, but how do you not come into that game without energy? I mean, how can you even say that? It's just befuddling. It's so hard to understand, and all I can say is, Jim, right now this team gets what they deserve.
Yeah, I agree. I could not agree with you more, Don. I mean, I was in the locker room afterwards and asked those very questions that you're talking about, and with the same astonishment, I'm getting the answers that they didn't know. Like, I don't have an answer. And I'm like, well, thinking if you don't know, then we certainly don't know. It's just one of those things that we're going to have to, after the season's over, I think, put away, and hopefully Indiana can move forward as there'll be a new team next year. But one of the things that obviously added to the pain of losing that game Thursday was on Friday, of course, Keon Brooks decided to, he made the announcement that he will be attending the University of Kentucky, not Indiana, and so they lose a good recruit there, which also hurts as well. But Indiana can now move forward in what they're going to be doing, but that's what they have to do with that.
Well, and regarding Brooks, I have no issues with him deciding he's going to go to Kentucky. If that's what he wants to do, that's what his family thinks he should do, that more power to him. I don't care where the kid goes, and it doesn't ever hurt me. I'm disappointed that a kid doesn't come to Indiana sometimes because he's such a highly regarded prospect and all those kinds of things. But I want somebody that wants to be here, number one, and if they had any doubts about coming to Indiana, then I want them to go to the other place because I don't want them to have doubts about that. And at the same time, Keon Brooks is a really talented kid and an outstanding basketball player. But I have no issues with that. I know that Archie Miller is recruiting some of the best players in the country. And from my perspective, you're not going to get them all. And when you don't get one, that's just it. That's the way it goes. And can he survive without Keon Brooks? And can the program survive without him? Absolutely. So I'm not worried about anybody who decides to go someplace else.
Absolutely. And the only thing that's bothering is when the social media aspect where fans can actually reach out and interact with people sometimes gets a little touchy, and I think there's been some of that, but hopefully that there's very little of that, and that goes away quickly because people should be able to make decisions that they think are best for them in their life and without being questioned about it.
Well, Jim, that's why I'm not on social media in any way, shape, or form, nor have I been since basically social media came into our lives. I've never been on Facebook. I was on Twitter for maybe 3 days. And then I got off Twitter. I don't even follow anybody on Twitter. I never look at Twitter. So I could care less. And I know everybody else is not in my world. That's fine. But it never bothers me about social media other than the fact that so many people put so much stock in it. It's just ridiculous.
Absolutely, and that's why Don Fisher's one of the best.
I sound like that hearing aid commercial?
No, you actually sound like the smartest guy in the room right now, the only guy that's not involved in this ridiculous behavior. That's the funny part is. That's the sad truth. Absolutely. But so Indiana now does move forward. They have a game in the NIT tomorrow night at Simon Scott Assembly Hall at 7 o'clock. They take on St. Francis, where they're a number one seed. And, I guess the best way to look at this is they can use this similar to the way the women's program did last year. The ladies, they went and they won the NIT. This year, they continue to progress and move forward. Their team is getting better and better as they bring in different recruits and better recruits. I think that's something the men's team is probably going to do the same.
Well, they have that opportunity. Let's put it that way, Jim. There's no question playing in the NIT, it doesn't feel the same as it does the NCAA tournament. But here's the good news. Indiana's the number one seed in their region. They will play at home for at least 3 games if they can win them. And if they can't, they'll be done for the season. But they're going to be playing teams that are much like them, all hungry, all wanting to play in this event. Most of them, I would say that in any regard. I think most of these teams, even though they're not playing in the NCAA tournament, definitely want to be in this event and definitely want to do what you just said, grow your team, get better, play to win. Those are the things that will be interesting to me to see if this team does that, because we've seen that this ball club at times, whatever their frailties are, whatever their problems are, their Achilles heels are, shooting the basketball, turning it over, those kinds of things, can they improve on those things and find ways to win ball games? And this team has done that at times this year, and then at other times they haven't. And I honestly want to see what this team does in this tournament, because I think the mentality of this ball club has got to change. I think they can't ever go into a ball game blaming energy for not being able to come out with a victory or the reason that they played poorly. If they do that, if they play like that again, then I'm going to say this team needs to have some kind of a psychiatrist come in and take a look at what the problem is, because that is ridiculous to me.
Absolutely, and I couldn't agree more. And this team needs to have that positive mental attitude in this set coming up for them going forward. This is what's going to make or break this team in the future, I think.
Well, I do too, and I think here's the other thing. This team has to develop a fierce effort, a fierce want-to-win attitude. They've got to develop that. If they don't, we're just going to see more of this next year. And I know, here's one thing I do know. There is nobody that wants to win more than Archie Miller does, and Archie Miller is a tough nut. He is one of those guys who wants to win. He wants to compete every time he walks out on the court. And I know that if they take on that attitude, and that's the one thing I think this team has missed a little bit, is that kind of, adapting their coach's personality to the way they play. And they do it sometimes. I mean, you've seen it. I mean, they did it in 6 straight ball games at the end of the season before the Ohio State game. They did it against Michigan State on the road. They did it back in December and November. But they have gotten away from that at times. They've got to find that alpha dog who's going to lead this ball club and is going to get in people's faces and tell them exactly what's what when things aren't going well and why they aren't going well at that point in time. So, honestly, I think this is a chance to see if this ball club can make some changes in their mentality, and I hope that they can.
I agree with you, and I think that I know Juwan Morgan, this is his last run, and he wants to go out with as big a bang as he can, and it doesn't matter if it's in the NIT or NCAA, it is what it is. So he's going to, he's going to give his effort, and whether Romeo is here next year or not, I'm sure that he wants to do the same, and I think that they're going to reach down and pull into the effort that we'd like to see them give.
Well, let's face it, they have done that in times, and they haven't at other times, and that's the issue. It's the consistency of that kind of want to. And honestly, the Big Ten, they break a record by getting 8 teams in the NCAA tournament. It has been the toughest conference in the country this year from top to bottom. You've got another Big Ten team in the NIT along with Indiana. That's Nebraska. That's a possible meeting at some point. And the bracket that Indiana plays in, they've got a couple of tough ball games coming up. Whoever they play after the St. Francis game, and I'm sitting here making it like St. Francis is not going to be an issue, but they are, because they've had a good season, and they've got the Player of the Year in the Northeast Conference in the Braxton kid. They're a ball club that can get up and down the floor. They don't have a lot of size to their team, but they do have bigs that can play in the middle. So basically, most of the time they play with four guards in the lineup at the same time. 6'5" guard named Keith Braxton is the Player of the Year in the Northeast Conference, so they're going to be a challenge in that regard. But there's no question that Indiana's capable of beating them, and playing them at home, they should beat them. And obviously, if they win that ball game, of course, after that, then they possibly could play either Arkansas, a team that already beat them down in Arkansas, or Providence, a team out of the Big East who's very tough at times. So, and then Clemson's in their bracket as well. So this is going to be a very interesting first 3 games in this tournament. If they can win them all, they go to the semifinals in New York City at Madison Square Garden, and that ought to be something that these kids are looking forward to as well.
Absolutely. Make sure you check out Don on the call tomorrow night. The game time is 7. Pregame is at 6 Eastern time. Don Fisher on the call. Thank you so much for joining us, Don. Look forward to it.
All right. Thanks a lot, Jim. Talk to you next week.
You bet. Don Fisher, the great voice of the Hoosiers, preparing us for tomorrow night's game with Arkansas, or with St. Francis. The NIT comes about. That's going to wrap up today's show. Tomorrow, Chronic Hoosier will be with us. Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier as well, and we'll talk a little bit more. We'll have Archie Miller. That's going to wrap it up for Justin Kalen. I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.